Now, welcome into the Friday edition, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Paul Kuharski, Ian Safar here with you on this Friday morning. We're live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios. Home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership with a buzz is always about great service. Rexrode out today. PK is in. PK, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Nashville. How we doing? Good to be here. Rallying. Got my huge Diet Coke.
Nice. That is a pretty massive Diet Coke you've got there. I respect it. That's good stuff.
I am I'm awaiting an order of my Pure Boost, which is what I try to drink for caffeine, which is significantly healthier than this, but desperate times call for desperate measures.
That's right. They do, no doubt. Ian, how we doing? What's going on?
Good morning. Happy Friday, everybody.
Do you caffeinate, Ian?
Yeah, I drink coffee. I was going to say, I'm a little bit surprised you're not a coffee guy.
I'm not a coffee
He
guy.
doesn't like it.
I've had one cup of coffee in my life. It was on a bus to an early game, soccer game, I think, in high school. Disgusted me, and that was that.
That was it.
It's probably too early to try it, but I made my decision at that time.
Well,
Interesting.
You've made not seen it fit to go back and try it again. That's good.
No, I don't like the smell of it. I don't like the bitterness of it. It's not for me.
I drink it straight black coffee.
I do too here.
I'm not a hot beverage person, really.
Okay.
I like a hot chocolate at the appropriate times.
That makes sense. Makes sense. Rexrode will go through about, 7 coffees per show over there. So he's kind of the extreme of it.
Yeah, I usually bring one and make one more in the kitchen.
Make one.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. Good stuff. We got a lot going on today on the program. College football playoff begins tonight. We're going to get into that a little bit later in the show. And why there's a couple teams this weekend that I'm pulling for to win by about 70. We'll get into that.
And they probably will win by about 70.
Very well could happen.
I'm rooting for the teams that are going to lose by 70 to win by 70.
We'll see what happens.
But it's not going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen. Teron Davenport will be with us at 8 o'clock. Obviously, we got a lot of Titan stuff to get into with PK as well. We'll have Pigskin Pick'em later in the show. All that coming up. What a game last night between the Rams and the Seahawks. It looked like the Rams were getting ready to run away with it. Sam Darnold threw a couple of back-breaking interceptions, and it looked like maybe the same old story with Darnold, who's played really well all year for the Seahawks, but for whatever reason, over his career the last couple of years, has not been able to figure out the Rams. And then obviously last year with Minnesota, had some crucial turnovers in a big moment against the Rams. But Seattle hangs in there. There's a crazy 2-point conversion play that ends up happening. They get to overtime. The Rams score a touchdown in overtime on like a 46-yarder to Puka Nacua. The Seahawks come back, score a touchdown. They go for 2. They get the win. So 2 11-3 teams heading into it. 2 of maybe the 2 best teams in the NFC. And Seattle pulls it out last night to get to 12-3, PK. That is a classic Thursday night football matchup last night.
I felt really good about Seattle coming into this game. About 2 weeks ago, I was looking at point spreads on one of the betting apps because I make picks weekly on my pod, which is taking a bad downturn. But I was looking at Super Bowl odds, and it's a really wide open year, obviously. And I put a couple bucks on Seattle. I really liked Seattle when they were here. I think they're well coached. I think, it's not like you can cross teams off for their quarterbacks the way you have been able to in the past. And I think that team can win with Darnold in a way I haven't had confidence in him before. And now as a number 1 seed, if they could hold on to it, I mean, the number 1 seed doesn't always serve teams well, but it certainly tells you about the regular season that they've had. And I think that they've got as reasonable a chance as anybody. I mean, they're super well coached, can win in multiple ways, defensively challenging. And I think most people thought maybe the Rams were the top team coming into the whole thing. Like if you started a playoff, going into this week, people would have taken the Rams as the number 1 team, and they just knocked them off in nice fashion with an accidental 2-point conversion and then a very purposeful 2-point conversion. So I feel good about Seattle in the NFC. I do. Tampa Bay was my team before the season, and they're not doing it. So I feel like both conferences are really wide open.
Wide open.
I've been we talked about this a little bit on Wednesday. I've been surprised by the degree of lament over the Chiefs falling out of it when so many people had Kansas City jet lag, and were sick of the Chiefs. And then when the Chiefs get eliminated, there's this big funeral, oh my God, what are we going to do without the Chiefs in the playoffs? Yeah, we're going to see other teams.
Yeah, I think we're going to be okay.
It's going to be fun.
I think we're going to be okay. The NFC's wide open. AFC is as wide open as I can remember it. I mean, it does feel to me in the AFC that if Buffalo's not going to do it this year, when is Buffalo going to do it? It kind of feels that way. In the NFC, you've got the Seahawks and the Rams. Now, it is worth pointing out that Devontae Adams didn't play last night with his hamstring, so we'll see how much of an issue that's going to be.
A lot better with him, particularly in the red zone.
Right. I mean, he's going to be back at some point here. And Nakua had 12 catches for 225 yards and 2 touchdowns last night on 16 targets. So
with a dumb tweet.
Yeah.
Dumb, quickly erased tweet.
Sean McVay not very happy about that after the game. So those two, I would say, are probably the best teams in the NFC. Packers Bears is this weekend. It's going to be a huge game in the NFC to see, who's going to end up winning the North. Does Detroit hang on? There's some, we were talking before the show. It's a pretty good weekend in the NFL.
They really have some fortunate scheduling.
Yeah, Steelers Lions is a huge game. It's Ravens Patriots on Sunday Night Football. Packers Bears on Saturday night. You just had that one last night.
Monday night might be horrible.
Yeah, Monday night is San Francisco and Indianapolis.
Oh no, that's good.
Not bad.
That's good.
Watch a little bit more Phillip Rivers out there slinging it around. So it's a pretty good weekend in the NFL.
I tell you, I was really impressed by San Francisco. Also,
yeah.
I mean that division is presenting some good football.
Well, and it's also, we had this discussion before the year. Last year, it was the North in the NFC where you had, the Lions at 15-2. You had, I think Minnesota was 14-3 or whatever they were last year, and the Packers were 11-6. And it's you got 3 teams that are all in double-digit wins. You got the winner of the NFC South hosting a playoff game at that point. And that's why the discussion came up this last year of, well, do you really need to reward a division winner with a home playoff game, or do you just straight seed the playoffs? And with the NFC West being what it is, I mean, you're going to have, whether it's Seattle or LA win this division, they're going to end up with, 13, 14 wins, whichever one wins it. The second place finisher is probably going to have 12, 13 wins. And then there's San Francisco, who I think is going to finish third. They may end up with 12 wins in this thing too. It's pretty wild. 2 years in a row in the NFC, there's one division that is just absolutely stacked on that side of it.
And I try not to overjudge what I see based on, what the Titans do, because they're not very good, obviously. But I mean, Brock Purdy, I think I tend to underrate. I mean, he was slinging the ball out there. He had better arm than I thought. And, his creativity is pretty damn good. I think if you look too at the NFC standings, the way you're talking about, Rams, Seahawks, 49ers, all 10 wins or better. And then you go to the NFC South, Bucks, Carolina, 7 wins each.
Yeah.
Divisional imbalance, the NFC East, 9 wins, and then Dallas, Washington, 6-4. It's just kind of an anomaly the way it's going now. But if you happen to draw the wrong division in your scheduling, the way the Titans have this year, to play the NFC West, where you've got 11 wins, 10 wins, 3 wins, you're getting buried. And it's super challenging, and it's lucky for them. They beat Arizona with the guy dropping the ball, running into the end zone to beat a 3-11 team. Otherwise you would have dropped that one. But those are 3 high quality teams. And I wouldn't be surprised to see any one of those teams go to the Super Bowl. Would you?
No, I wouldn't. And it's, Yeah, maybe San Francisco, just because like I don't think they've got a very good pass rush, and I think at some point that's probably going to be a problem.
Yeah, they
in
don't
the
have any
playoffs.
pass rush, really.
Right. But like I mean, their offense, and I realize it was the Titans last week, but their offense under Shanahan, I mean, there's a certain baseline of what they're going to be. When they're healthy, they're going to be pretty good. So, I think that they've, depending on it, it's all about matchups, right? And that's the other thing about this weekend. There's a chance that we could know basically the 7 teams that are going to be in the playoffs from both sides by weekend's end. Like, the 7 teams in the NFC that are in right now, you've got the Panthers and the Buccaneers. Somebody's going to have to win the division. So we're not going to know that this weekend, although they do play each other. So that's
to play each other twice.
That's a big deal coming
in the
up
last 3 weeks,
which is amazing that the schedule has gotten to that point. But, if Detroit loses to Pittsburgh, they're going to be out in the NFC. And then the AFC, Baltimore's got a huge game against the Patriots. If they lose that one, they're in big trouble. And then the Colts, if they lose to San Francisco, and especially if that's combined with a Houston win this weekend, I mean, they're screwed in the race here. So as wide open as it is, we could basically know what the 7 teams, barring the division winner of like the NFC South,
or the
is
AFC
going
South.
to be.
On the other side, the AFC South is up in the air that way.
Right, but they'll both at least probably be in.
Yeah, same for AFC North, Pittsburgh or Baltimore, but they're both going to be in. Denver probably wins the West, but Denver and the Chargers are probably going to be in. The thing in the NFC, to get back to that, the teams that are like the Packers probably get in, but the Packers are down because Micah Parsons is out, right? The 49ers are probably in, but the 49ers chances are down because of their defensive injuries. Seattle and LA look to be healthier, and that's why they are in the position that they're in, which is typically the story, a battle of attrition, who's done the best. Speaking of which, do you know that I think it's 6 weeks in a row Lamar Jackson has missed at least a practice?
No.
His Wednesday practice, he pretty much just sits out.
He just doesn't do it.
I mean, but like this week, I think he had a cold.
Illness.
This guy is ill more than anybody in the league. Seriously. For a quarterback to miss as much practice as he misses with illness, not an ankle, not a knee.
Yeah.
Maybe someday you could be like me and get gout.
Not gout.
No gout. No gout involved for Lamar Jackson.
I mean, we've talked about the Bills needing to take advantage. Well, the Bills have gotten to 10-4.
Yep.
I mean, they're still contending with the Patriots. They're only a game back, and they've split the season series. But for Baltimore to be behind Pittsburgh
with that roster,
this is a hugely disappointing season in Baltimore. For in the year where the Chiefs disappear, the Bills are at least poised to get in the playoffs and do their thing. Baltimore could conceivably still miss the playoffs, but they probably get in, but they're not getting in with a bunch of home field and all of that.
No.
Huge disappointment. And I know injuries played into it, but that's not a good year. That's a wrong time to have a bad year.
Nope. 615-737-1025, our phone number, 615-737-1025. Off and running today on Robby and Rexrode. PK is with us for the entire program. Today, we'll take your questions for him on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. I'll get PK's thoughts on Cam Ward's comments from a couple of days ago that have caused a firestorm coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Paul Kuharski with me on the program today, taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025. Let's head to our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHunting.com. Welcome in Joe in Nashville to the program. Joe, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Joseph.
Hey, guys. Good morning. So PK, I have a theory I've been working on. I want you to suss out with me. Not Nick, but suss out with me.
Nice.
All right.
Is so Clint Kubiak's path is almost identical to Kyle Shanahan's. Like, if you look at Mike Shanahan and Gary Kubiak are basically football brothers. They're what the fathers of that offense. And like, Kyle was offensive coordinator in two places for two defensive head coaches. When they hired him from Atlanta in San Francisco, you were like, maybe this is a touch early to be head coach, but like, he's probably ready. And Clint Kubiak has been the offensive coordinator for two defensive head coaches, and like, it could be a hair early. He's 38, and like, if you just look, I mean, their paths, like, look at like all their stops and stuff, almost identical. It's pretty crazy to think about. Thanks, boys. Have a
Thanks,
great
Joe.
day.
Appreciate it. I think he's going to be on the list.
I like him. I think he's kind of my number two. I will say, in terms of the Shanahan comparison, I mean, Shanahan's dad was a better and more successful coach than Gary Kubiak. And Gary Kubiak was a Shanahan tree guy where, I mean, Shanahan was good enough that he was kind of his own tree.
Yeah.
Though I know he was off of what was he was on somebody's tree himself, but he was successful enough that he was his own guy.
He created his own
But
tree.
yeah, there's a little bit to what you're saying, parallels.
He's done a good job up here in Seattle. There's no doubt.
All of these young guys are gonna have a feel of it being a little early, in that you just don't know for sure. And the one thing I think that the Titans would like is, some experience. But if you're looking for a guy with head coaching experience, the pool is small. You're talking McCarthy and Nagy and Saleh.
Well,
and who else?
Not only is the pool small, but there are flaws with all of them. I was talking about this yesterday. McCarthy is probably still my number one guy. And it's not because I'm just totally in love with Mike McCarthy. I do think he's shown enough that he is a good coach objectively, but he's not perfect. I mean, he has some clock management stuff that'll drive you nuts if you're a Titans fan. Obviously in the playoffs in Dallas, didn't go very well with Mike McCarthy. So, Saleh, I like. If they ended up hiring Robert Saleh, I'd be fine with it.
McCarthy's 62 also.
There's another thing. Saleh I like. But Saleh's record's horrible. Now, you could say it's because it's the Jets, and maybe it is because it's the Jets.
The record is what the record is.
But the record is what it is. So, like, not only is the pool limited of guys who have done the job before, but the guys who have done the job before, I mean, there's a mixed bag on what the results have been there, too.
Here's the other thing, just as a spinoff. If they decide that Mike McCarthy is the guy, if they decide that Matt Nagy is the guy, they're going to have to convince us that it's more than just them knowing Mike McCarthy and Matt Nagy.
Yeah.
Because hiring either one of those two guys really looks like the easy route.
Yeah.
And they're going to sell us on doing an extensive search. Well, when you do an extensive search and you land on the guy you worked with in Green Bay or the guy you worked with in Kansas City, it's going to be hard to convince us that it's an extensive search, because what do you usually get out of an extensive search, or what do you like to get out of an extensive search is, hey, McCarthy and Nagy looked pretty good, but when we sat down with this guy, he really steered us in a different direction, and we were surprised and impressed. And, when he talked about scouting, and when he talked about player development, and when he talked about game planning, we were bowled over. And then we talked to some people who knew him, and the things they said were beyond things people were saying about other people. And And it became clear to us that this was the guy, and we fell in love, and it became apparent. You listen to the Mike McDonald story with John Schneider, and I read about this lately with they had a hug at a Starbucks, and it became apparent very quickly that this was a marriage that was meant to be. I don't know. I want a story like that.
Well,
But some of those stories I know go sideways.
Well, the other part of that too is, if let's say it's McCarthy at the end of it, everything you just said will come up. And it's also the fact that they've had like months to work on this at this point, right? Like usually your extensive searches are within the span of a couple of weeks. I mean, they've been, I would assume, behind the scenes preparing for the coaching search for several weeks at this point. So if you do all that and you end up with Mike McCarthy, look, it may be the right guy to hire. I have no idea. But there definitely will be some of that in terms of the reaction that they're dealing with.
It'll come from me. Look, when you get to this moment, and you're sitting in my chair or our chairs, I think our obligation is, clean slate for the new guy.
Yep.
But certainly you'll ask those questions. Same thing with, whether you were into Cam Ward or not. Once they take him, then you're like, all right, well, let's see what he can do. But I think if they end up with one of those two guys, they're big connected guys, you can't help but think, well, here we go with the old boy network thing, as opposed to the expansive, let's find somebody kind of
turning over every stone. Yep. 615-737-1025, our phone number. We'll continue the discussion on the coaching search. We will get PK's thoughts on Cam Ward's comments coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Paul Kuharski, Ian Safar here with you on this Friday morning. PK, a lot of conversation the last couple of days on Cam Ward and his comments on the Titans coaching search. We talked about it on the show yesterday of him wanting to have some involvement and meet all the guys involved with the interview process and all those things. And PK, as with anything, Cam Ward led to a divided discussion. There's some Titans fans that look at it and say, well, yeah, I mean, he should be involved in the whole thing. I mean, they should basically ask him who they want him to hire at that point. And then there's the extreme the other way of, what the world has Cam Ward done to warrant being involved in any part of a coaching search for the Tennessee Titans? So you were there when Cam Ward talked about this. What was your takeaway from what Cam Ward had to say on the Titans coaching search front and his involvement in it?
Well, let's contextualize first how this came up. The start of it was I asked him, I said, I know you've got 3 games left, but it's not going to be long before you meet the new coach of this franchise. Are you kind of getting anxious for that, given how important this guy's going to be to your career? And he kind of jumped ahead, and then there were some follow-up questions, but that got him to the, I'd like to meet all of these guys.
Yeah.
I think people really extrapolated to this idea that like he's going to influence who's hired. If they have 13 guys in, I doubt that he's going to meet all 13 guys unless, he's in the building. If he happens to be in the building and they're around, they probably say hello. But I do think, there's absolutely nothing wrong with particularly the finalists having a brief conversation with Cam Ward. Here's a secret. They're all going to like each other.
Yeah, exactly.
The coaches are coming here. They're all going to like Cam Ward and have a big plan for Cam Ward. And Cam Ward's going to be enthusiastic about anybody who's coming here who's got a great plan for him. This is pretty basic NFL working that way. He's not going to have a huge influence over who's hired. Now, the guy getting hired and how he talks about Cam Ward is going to be influential, like it or not. That's how the league works. He's also, if Cam Ward doesn't pan out, going to have a chance with the second quarterback here. But people just made far too big a deal out of it. And this idea that, he needs to be quiet and play football is this very narrow-minded thing. Like a guy can't do 2 things at once. Also, there will be no football being played when the coach is being interviewed.
That is true.
And Cam Ward will be completely able to do the working out that he needs to do and have lunch with the prospective head coach all in the same day without some huge distraction. So I don't think it's that big a deal. I would say Jeffrey Simmons, if he's around, would have the same level of conversation with the guy as well.
Yeah, I mean, I said yesterday, I don't think that him having a conversation with coaches is that big of a deal. I don't think that ultimately it's going to play that big of a role in what they do. Now, obviously that led into a discussion of should it play a bigger role and how much say should he have? And there's, all different thoughts all over the map on that one. I want the general manager hiring the head coach. The general manager, I think, is going to be the one hiring the head coach here. That's what needs to happen on this front. And we talked with this a little bit with Charles Robinson yesterday, like quarterbacks in general, even your veteran quarterbacks, like with the exception of, he brought up, I think, Peyton Manning with Jim Caldwell back in the day with the Colts. At that point, I think Manning had won a Super Bowl and was the league MVP maybe already 3 times at that point. So, yeah, I would probably involve Peyton Manning in my decision-making there. I know at different points, Aaron Rodgers was involved in decisions that they made in Green Bay. So those type of guys, yeah, I mean, you might see them get a little bit more hands-on. By and large, as Charles brought up yesterday, guys like Cam Ward, the most recent examples I think would be Caleb Williams in Chicago, Bryce Young in Carolina. Like they basically keep them updated on what's going on, but there's no direct involvement in terms of who they hire and who they don't hire. And I don't think that's going to happen here with the Titans
Not
either.
rubber stamping.
Right.
It's kind of a, hey, yeah, I enjoyed meeting him. I'd be fired up to work with him kind of thing.
Yeah.
What's he going to say? Oh man,
Well,
it was a rough lunch we had, Mike. I can't see it.
And that's what I was trying to get home yesterday on this conversation. Like, everybody was talking about input. It's like, well, Cam Ward should have input. It's like, well, what does that mean? Like, what does input mean? Because like, if they've narrowed it down to like the finalists, do we think Cam Ward's walking in the door and be like, hey, Mike, I really don't like Robert Saleh. Let's try to avoid that. And then they're just going to totally switch what they're doing at head coach. Like, I think input in this conversation is something that sounds nice, that really doesn't have a whole lot of meaning that's attached to it.
And what's missed is Cam Ward in the course of that said, I'm confident they're going to pick the right guy, be it offensive or defensive side of the ball, all of that. He said the corporate stuff. He expressed the confidence in Borgonzi. Bigger question here, bigger fear, bigger thing that everybody should be worried about. What's Amy's involvement here?
That's the main thing, right?
I think that's what we all want to know. And the strong-willed Mike Vrabel type, is she willing to allow them? Will she sign off on that kind of guy if that's the kind of guy they wind up with? They say they're open to everything. They go in and they're open to everything. Well, are they open to everything? Or if they land on a guy like that, is she fearful of that because she wants a coach that's more of a, for lack of a better phrase, and this is too strong of a word, a more pushover type.
Yeah.
Somebody that she can ultimately have under her thumb, as opposed to somebody like Mike Vrabel that when push comes to shove isn't going to put up with it, especially once he establishes a successful resume. That needs to be a non-factor here. Yeah. I mean, Mike Vrabel respected the role of the owner, but when things got to a bad point, I think he wasn't afraid to express it. And that's what she needs.
No,
I mean, at the end, it maybe got a little bit mutinous, but he knew the end was there, right? Also, that's a 6-year run, and 6-year runs are pretty long in the NFL.
You said the day after Brian Callahan got fired that this needs to be a search where they hand the reins to Mike Borgonzi and let him make the hire and do his thing. And I think that's exactly the way this needs to go. And it doesn't mean that, Amy Adams Strunk can't check in. It doesn't mean that you can't keep your quarterback, aware of what's going on out there. But at the end of the day, what you said the day after Callahan was fired is the way this needs to go down. Mike, we've hired you to be the general manager. As owner of this team and Amy Adams Strunk, I'm going to trust you to do the job. Yeah, I'll meet the coach before we end up signing the contract, but bring me your guy, and that's what we'll do. Now, is it going to play out that way? I have no idea, but that's the way that I would feel best about if I'm a Titans fan.
Yeah, I think that's the dream scenario. I think the actual scenario, and look, I don't have a problem with Brinker being semi-involved. My thing, I don't think it's avoidable, and my thing is I think Brinker ultimately wants the decision to be on somebody else. It takes away his culpability. Yeah. The thing is, I think when given a chance to make the big move, Amy can't resist. And Bryce Wasserman probably has some say in there too, at least in terms of signing off. They can't resist. I mean, if you're going to own it and you don't do that stuff, what do you do? It's like a shiny new piece of jewelry or a new car or a new horse for her, right? She gets to show it off.
Yeah.
And she might even, she'll show up at the press conference and read off a piece of paper and sit in the front row, and that's her shining moment. So that's the strain here. Now, these people, they use the word empowered a lot.
Yep.
She's empowered Brinker and Nihil to to speak for her. Well, if they can speak for you, you're capable of empowering them to do more than that. And speaking for you hasn't been the greatest. So if you want to empower them for more important stuff. Empower them, not Nihil here. I'm talking Brinker and Borgonzi. You've empowered Brinker to speak for you and to run the football side. Now let Brinker do what he should do in terms of empowerment and empower his GM to hire the coach that he's going to work with to rebuild this organization. If you're doing empowerment, do it.
Yeah. No, I think it's well said. Let's head back to our phone line. Welcome in Ed in New Jersey to the program. Ed, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Hey, good morning, guys. If I don't get a chance to talk to you next week, happy holidays, Merry Christmas. I want to, just piggybacking on your point. Do you think it's an advantage to have as many former GMs? And that's a large front office. And I can see an advantage on one hand where each one of those guys has an extensive network they can reach out to learn about candidates, even if they didn't directly work with them. But man, in my professional career, 35 years, anytime you put more than 3 people in a room, it is hard to gain consensus and hard to make a final decision. So I wonder in this case, does the pro outweigh the con there? I'm just wondering your opinion. I get your point about empowering Brinker, but he's got to navigate not just Amy, but a lot of, or empowering Berganzi, but he's got to make a lot of decisions.
Yeah.
And it ultimately is going to fall on him. He's got to navigate a lot of opinions. So I wonder what your opinion on that is.
Thanks, Ed. Appreciate the call.
Yeah, I think it's too many cooks. Maybe it becomes a little bit of a hive mentality. If I, from my experience watching this organization, what's happened from 2 years in of Robinson's sense is the minimization of the scouts who are on the ground and supposed to be getting you real information and giving you real opinion that should have sway. That's been minimized, and those guys are largely information gatherers. And then the decisions are made by people who, have gone to games, but aren't necessarily going to campuses and meeting the secretaries and the janitors and the people on campus who interact with these kids and give you a real sense of what they're really about. And they're made higher up the food chain by guys who watch film and read the sheet that younger scout gives you that doesn't carry as much weight as it should or as it used to. And I'm saying younger kid because I think the Titans have gotten younger there. Those used to be more old, crusty scouts who knew all of those people because they've been on those campuses for 30 years. I think the Titans are top heavy now with these guys. And you've got 5 people who are all of similar experience. And that's a different, they all have had different experiences, right, but they're at the similar executive levels.
As long as this doesn't result in Brinker getting up there and reminding us how many Super Bowls they've all won at different places.
He'll say it again
that would be great.
unless he can be advised out of it by
Let's not
PR.
do that. Let's not do that. 615-737-1025, our phone number. We'll continue the discussion on the Titans, including an emotional Jeffrey Simmons yesterday after practice. We'll get more into that. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. 102.5 The Game, your home for the Liberty Mutual Music City Bowl on Tuesday, December the 30th. Music City Bowl coverage presented by Pickers Vodka and Beyond the Edge Sports Bar. Tennessee taking on Illinois coming up on December the 30th. Looking forward to that matchup. We'll get into some college football here in just a few minutes with the college football playoff officially beginning tonight. So we will get into that to begin the 7 o'clock hour. Taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025. Paul Kuharski with me here on the program. PK, an emotional Jeffrey Simmons yesterday after practice. We discussed the incident that took place while the Titans were in San Francisco on Sunday. His house was broken into and his home burglarized. And we talked about this. This has been a thing around the NFL that Joe Burrow has dealt with. I think Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes have dealt with this. There has been a trend over the last couple of years of high-profile NFL players having their homes broken into. PK, you were part of this conversation yesterday. Here's a little bit of what Jeffrey Simmons had to say at practice yesterday.
Man, when I pulled up at home, I kind of realized it happened because my garage was open. I mean, and not just go so much into it, you know, you don't want to, especially it's still under investigation, but I just pulled up at home and I'm like, damn, my garage open. And, you know, a couple of things were missing out of my garage, so that's when I kind of realized things happened. So, you know, of course, I did the steps that I needed to do, you know, contacted Benny and Metro. So, you know, it was alarming. You didn't. I mean, I don't know, and especially at the time, I didn't know what time they did. I didn't know if they was actually still in the house or not. So, I went through the steps of, you know, what I supposed to have been did, and I said, man, it's something I don't want to kind of keep thinking about, because, especially talking about, because it's still one of the things that kind of still sucks. I didn't expect it. I mean, that's the reason why I do so much work with my foundation, man. Like, you know, especially with our youth. Our youth need us, man, because I think when we talk about the youth, man, these young boys, they don't have guidance. So that's the reason why I try to be in the community so much. You just never know what, you know, when I go and talk to our youth in these schools, it's like you can say one thing to these kids that maybe pull them out the streets. Sorry, bro. It could have happened to anybody, man. Like, the only thing I think about, man, what if my mom was at the house? So, we know they had guns and, you know, weapons, so that's the only thing I think about, man. So when we talk about, like, the community work, that's the reason I don't do it for the publicity and Walter Payton, man, a year. You do it to try to impact somebody's life. So, man. So yeah, man, it sucks, and, you know, perspective's everything. So it could happen to anybody, man. So my message to my teammates and people around the league to continue to pour on youth, because when I looked at my camera, the boys don't look. I mean, them boys, they look like young kids. They look like young adults too, that just lost right now. And that's the reason why we gotta continue to use our platform. We gotta continue to use our platform. So that's it, man. Like I said, I'm grateful that none of my family members was in the house and I wasn't there. And like I say, it could have happened to anybody. And we have to, especially as professional athletes, take this next step of protecting ourselves and especially where we live. So that's it, man.
So understandably, pretty emotional Jeffrey Simmons yesterday. PK, you were there and a part of that conversation. What did you make of the reaction from Simmons and what he had to say there, kind of his message in the aftermath of obviously a tough situation?
Yeah, well, the two big points, his mom usually watches road games at his house, and for whatever reason decided not to do that. He took that kind of as a sign, but she kind of somehow knew something bad was going to go down and made other plans. And then obviously he works with a lot of young men, trying to keep them out of trouble, and was hurt that in this case, these were guys that obviously he wasn't involved with and didn't manage to reach, but hopes that outreach to troubled young men by him and others continues to have a bearing and prevent them from doing stuff like this that potentially hurts people. In this case, or hurt property, but could have far worse consequences. So, issue near and dear to his heart comes back to bite him. So, heartfelt, sincere moment with Jeff, who's had quite a year in terms of playing, and I think quite a year in terms of maturing in the way that he talks to the public and deals with stuff. So it sucks that it happens to anybody. And hopefully Metro PD will find who did this, be able to get him his stuff back, and people involved will find justice and hopefully some brand of rehabilitation as well, which I think is what he would want.
Yep. Well said. 615-737-1025. Our phone number. The college football playoff beginning tonight. And I've got a big problem with heading into the first week of the college football playoff that I feel pretty universally around the college football landscape. We'll get into that. Robby and Rexrode, 1025 The Game. Hour number 2, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robby Stanley, Paul Kuharski, Ian Safar here with you on this Friday morning, live from our Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Teron Davenport will be with us at 8 o'clock. We will look ahead to the Titans and the Chiefs coming up with him. Looking forward to that here on the show. We got the Rob Rant coming up later this hour as well. College football playoff begins tonight. Alabama will take on Oklahoma, a rematch, this time on the road for Alabama, taking on the Sooners. So that is the first game of the college football playoff. We got 3 more coming tomorrow, with Miami taking on Texas A&M, Tulane on the road at Ole Miss, and James Madison on the road in the nightcap, taking on Oregon. And a lot of conversation about the matchups and how the seeding has fallen heading into this weekend. Nick Saban, Nashville Predators owner, was on the Pat McAfee show yesterday, where he did discuss, by the way, the Nashville Predators purchase that he made, and he will be addressing the media here in Nashville coming up on Monday, so looking forward to that. He talked about the college football playoff and the fact that we're getting ready to watch James Madison and Tulane, and he really kind of focused in on James Madison here, taking on Oregon. This is what Nick Saban had to say on the Pat McAfee show yesterday.
Look, would we allow the winner of the AAA baseball league, the international league, whatever they call it, I don't even know the name of it, would you let them in the World Series playoffs?
I don't think they do. No, I don't think.
No, they don't. But I'm saying, but that's the equivalent of what we do when JMU gets in to the college football playoff and Notre Dame doesn't.
So that is what Nick Saban had to say yesterday. Made the comparison to AAA baseball. Now, I don't know that I didn't necessarily buy that comparison, but we got a college football playoff beginning this weekend, and we got 2 games in the first round where there's no excitement for it because everybody knows it's going to be a bloodbath. I mean, Ole Miss is a 17.5-point favorite in their rematch with Tulane. We've already seen them play once this year. Oregon and James Madison. Oregon is a 3-touchdown favorite in a playoff game heading into the weekend. So, look, Paul, I realize that this year is a little bit of an extreme because the ACC was so bad this year that the 5 automatic conference championship bids fell in a way where 2 group of 5 teams are in this year in Tulane and James Madison. So I understand that formula is not going to shake out every year, but it's a joke that we've got 2 group of 5 teams in the 12-team playoff, and you've got a team like Notre Dame sitting at home. And look, I'm no Notre Dame apologist. Notre Dame, their schedule wasn't very good, and they played a couple of good teams this year that they lost to, and sometimes that's just what happens. So I'm not necessarily even approaching this trying to defend Notre Dame, but it's a problem when you've got 4 games on college football's opening week of the college football playoff, and you will be stunned if 2 of them are approaching the 4th quarter with the game in any serious jeopardy or doubt at all. I think it's a massive problem, and I don't know why we cannot come up with a system where you just rank the top 12 teams and seed them that way. That's not going to happen. They're not going to do it. There's too much belly aching that goes on about it, and people want all this access. So I know it's not going to happen, but I will be stunned if Tulane or James Madison are ever in a position to make this game truly in doubt coming up this weekend, and that's a shame.
I mean, 1, symbolically in is fine. 2 is ridiculous. Here's another beef from me. I mean, great. We've got a good primetime one tonight with Alabama, Oklahoma at 7 o'clock our time. Tomorrow, though, I mean, I understand at Oregon has to be late, but why would you have Tulane at Ole Miss at 2:30 and Miami at Texas A&M at 11 a.m.?
Yep.
You got to flip those and get the better game later in the day. I mean, tomorrow by 2:30, it's done.
Yeah.
And then you got back-to-back blowouts. So the scheduling is very poor as well. Now,
I guess they're trying to avoid the NFL.
Well,
That's
there's an NFL
of.
game tomorrow night, at least opposite James Madison and Oregon. But you could put Miami, Texas A&M as make it a doubleheader with the NFL game.
Well, you've got Eagles Commanders tomorrow too.
Oh, there are
4 o'clock. But again, like I understand when you're looking at this ahead of time, Eagles Commanders seems like a good game. Eagles Commanders not going to be a good game. I mean,
no, but an NFL game will draw.
It will.
So, I mean, that gives you, you got Miami, Texas A&M, and then 2 NFL games. It just sucks because all year you're anticipating that this college football playoff is going to be something. And then the first round is loaded with the 17.5-point spread for Ole Miss and a 20.5-point spread for Oregon. And nobody's looking at those spreads saying, no, too big. I mean, if you're betting those games, you're betting on the favorites, aren't you? I am.
Yeah. Well, and also like
those games are on TNT.
Those games are on TNT.
And then it's surprising. Like college basketball where you have to go find a game. No True TV.
It says TNT / True TV.
True TV.
It's on both.
You can find it on either one. True TV, TNT.
Who's the cruise for that?
I have no idea.
That's objectionable.
I have no idea.
I mean, it's not like they're on simultaneously. If the 4 games were on simultaneously, then you got to go to True TV.
Exactly.
When they're on by themselves, they should be on ESPN or ABC.
Yeah. Well,
isn't this ESPN property?
Yeah. I mean,
so what do they got going on?
I don't know. It's a great question.
I think they're using some of the ESPN announcers.
Oh,
on TNT?
On TNT.
Yeah, but why on earth is it on TNT?
I have no idea.
I mean, these ratings are going to be, are people going to find the James Madison game on TNT?
I don't think so. I mean, both the NFL games are on Fox, so it's not like ESPN has got some NFL game in its place. And the other part of this, look, and I'm excited to a certain degree to watch Alabama or Oklahoma tonight.
Should be good.
It should be good. Hopefully,
I think Alabama's going to screw it up by either winning big or losing big.
Yeah. Well, in Oklahoma, they're not a ton of fun to watch because their offense is not that great. They play great defense, which is great. But the other part of that is they've already played this year.
Yeah, like the rematch factor.
The rematch part of this is not good.
I mean, Ole Miss.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen, and I understand just because a game is played out a certain way earlier in the year doesn't mean that it's going to play out that way later. I mean, like we see rematches all the time in the NFL in the division, so I understand that. But they, I think in the past have made pretty conscious efforts to avoid the rematch, and sometimes you can't avoid it. I get that, but here we are with 2 of them in the first round, including one that was an absolute dud of a game.
Yeah, we don't need to see college football games a second time if it's at all avoidable. It's not the NFL. You don't, the potential for matchups you haven't seen before is great. And I think America definitely would rather see things they haven't seen recently before, particularly in a blowout scenario.
Yeah. Oh, and like I said, this is a bit of an extreme in terms of the way that the conference champions shook out and the ACC screwed it up this year. But if this goes the way I think it's going to go, and we're talking on Monday about Ole Miss beating Tulane by 25 and Oregon beating James Madison by 30, then I think what we're going to hear in the offseason is all these college football decision makers who just basically play football in the fall and then find stuff to complain and change in the offseason. All you're going to be hearing these guys talk about is we got to find a way to get the group of 5 out of the playoff. And I know some people, Joe, will hate that. But, man, like Tulane and James Madison tomorrow, you better keep it close because if not, that's what the conversation is going to be.
Or I would say if you're in a situation where you're putting 2 in, have them play each other.
Yeah.
And then one of them goes advances to have a chance against one of the big dogs. Or, if you're going to, and I understand the case for letting a little guy in. I'm a little guy, but I'm not a blowout guy. So, maybe have them play each other to be the best group of 5 school and give some cred to that. Make that a big game, a big bowl game, and they get a special trophy. But the fact is they're not going to be a national champion. So, do we want competitive games or not? I do. I want competitive games above all else. So basically, we get to this weekend that everybody is all fired up about, and you get here and you say, all right, well, give me next week.
Yeah, pretty much. 615-737-1025.
Let's expand the playoff. How about that?
Yeah, let's add more of these. Let's get more of these games.
And start it earlier.
Yeah, start it. That's the thing. Let's start the college football season a little bit earlier. 615-737-1025.
This could have been last weekend, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, last weekend's a nothing weekend. Everybody wants to talk Army, Navy. I mean, I understand the pageantry of Army, Navy and everything. You could play Army, Navy on Friday night or whatever. Find a spot for Army, Navy. I don't want to disrespect Army, Navy, but also people don't care about Army, Navy. The reason people care about Army, Navy is because there's nothing else on.
That is a very valid point. We have more on the college football front to get into. We'll get back into the Titans a little bit later this hour as well. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Welcome back in, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Paul Kuharski, Ian Safar here with you on this Friday morning. We'll have the Rob rant coming up a little bit later in the program. Very exciting. Very exciting. Getting your thoughts on the college football playoff. David in Arkansas says, what's the purpose of a bye week when they start the playoff 2 weeks after the season ends? Get rid of the conference championships since they don't even consider those in their discussions. Anyway, make that weekend the first weekend of the playoff. No need to drag this stuff out. Well, see, the problem with that is they don't consider the conference championships until they do, right? Like they've got, they didn't consider it when Alabama lost, but they consider it with some of these other matchups.
Matters for the Heisman.
It matters for the Heisman. Like, so.
But it is like 2 weeks off. But the purpose of a bye week is, give kids some time to take exams technically and allow teams to prepare for playoffs. It's not an unreasonable thing. Seasons should start earlier. And between and 2 weeks off there does seem like a lot with the conference championship week and then the bye week. They could tighten the schedule, or start it earlier, tighten the schedule, finish the season earlier. They've got to sort out also the transfer portal timing, so to avoid this whole Lane Kiffin thing where, hopefully guys could finish their season with their team, even if they're going all the way to the national championship game, and then start building rosters after that.
Do we have anybody that we are pulling for to win the national championship that's within the world of realism? Like, I don't want either one of you saying James Madison. I mean, I guess you can say whatever you want, but do we have anybody that we're pulling for in the college football playoff here?
Go ahead, Ian.
I kind of thought Indiana, just because, they're such a perennial no-name football program.
Yep.
To see them win would be kind of cool. Their coach, I don't know, kind of seems like a jerk, though. I think I might be kind of rooting for Ole Miss.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm going.
Just because, stick it to them. The Kiffin thing when he left and just kind of feel bad the whole situation.
Yeah.
I kind of like to see Ole Miss make a run.
It would be kind of hilarious if Ole Miss wins the national championship when he leaves. It would be pretty funny.
Kiffin would still be taking, such
victory laps and credit
for it. So that would be a little bit difficult for me, though. I would like it for the kids. I think I would like to see. I would like to see them, or I would like to see Texas Tech just out of nowhere. I mean, They're not out of nowhere. They've obviously had a good season, but nobody's picking Texas Tech, right?
No.
The buying roster thing is a little wishy-washy to some people.
Yeah, but that's football now.
That's what it is now. But I'm with you, Ian. Like, part of me is like, man, they just spent just gobs of money on their roster. And then to be immediately rewarded with a national championship for that bothers me. But that also is what college football is now. Like, it's just that's going to be what it is. I mean, Ohio State won the national championship last year, and they had $20 million on their roster.
I'll go the other way. Teams that I absolutely do not want to see win. Ohio State, no thank you.
Yep.
Georgia, absolutely not. That Kirby Smart running up the sideline, calling timeout, and then saying, no, I was clapping my hands. That alone. Indiana, I'd be okay with. A&M, I mean, I just the previous coach and hearing that they were the greatest recruiting school in the history of mankind and doing nothing. If they got payoff now out of that, I'd be sickened by it for some reason.
I would like to see Marcel Reed make a little bit of a run. That'd be kind of fun.
I can't root for A&M for no other reason than the Yale team. That they've got.
Me too. It's so cultish and weird. It kind of freaks me out. Miami, there's just something that I feel like they're second tier and don't deserve it. Ole Miss, I'd be all right because I'd like to see success for the people that were screwed over by Kiffin, but I don't like the fact that Kiffin would get joy out of it. JMU and Tulane, no chance. Oklahoma, no, because Oklahoma people would be insufferable. Alabama for the same reason.
Oh, yeah.
Oregon, I mean,
I'd be all right.
I'd be all right with Oregon. Oregon deserves at some point to win.
I'd be all right with Oregon.
they're probably the biggest top seed that I'd probably be okay with winning.
Indiana.
I would like to see the uniforms they wear in the national championship.
Yeah, I would
game.
too.
They've clearly got something like under wraps for the ultimate game.
The Indiana feels to me like the team that, like, right now, they're relatively new into this, right? Like, I know they were good last year, but they're kind of the new shiny toy. Mendoza.
I would like
is
to
kind
see
of the
Indiana.
dorky kid that
no
people
one
love.
hates Indiana,
nobody
right?
hates Indiana, but I say that to set this up. Indiana, if they keep this up, like if they keep winning, Cignetti is the type of guy and type of coach that I could see people around the country like hating this time in a year or two from now.
But in this, let them build up to the hate.
Yeah.
You know who would be insufferable with that is Andrew Rising.
Yes.
So that gives me a little pause.
I think we just talked Paul out of Indiana there. Just hit the brakes.
No, I mean, there are a lot of teams I really hate here. So Indiana isn't one.
I think Oregon's my answer. Now that we've sorted through it, I think Oregon is the team that I'm rooting for. I could find some flaws with other ones, like Texas Tech, the roster stuff. It's like, man, you guys just kind of bought your team.
The
Phil
Nike thing kind of rubs me a little
but
off sometimes.
He's kind of always been there, and they've been in the conversation for so long and have never won it. And besides, like Marcus Mariota, who Joe thinks I hate, would get some great joy out of it.
It's so funny though, like the things that I don't know if you guys have this, but the things that flash in my head when we mention these schools, like you guys say Oregon, and I just automatically it's like gray and rainy in my head. And that doesn't bring me any joy whatsoever. So it's like the volume. I think about it and I'm like, yeah, and then that image comes into my head and the volume gets turned down.
Just think highlighters, highlighter uniforms.
Yeah,
they'll perk you back up.
The uniforms just exhaust.
Hey, it's going to be sunny tomorrow in Eugene, Oregon.
Okay, well that changes.
Sunny
everything.
and 49.
That exception changes everything. Don't the uniforms exhaust you? It's just like
I just don't
turn on the TV and you have to study the uniform before the game to get
never
used
know
to
what they're going to wear.
Yeah, it's and how do they come up with a new one like every week? It's very tiring.
I mean, the catalog,
how old do I sound?
Well, the catalog that they've got with these uniforms, it's got to be just so deep. Like, how do you
go to a
come up
family
with
reunion and you look through the photo albums? That's like if you go to Oregon, the kid sits down and like, hey, we're going to leave you in this room for an hour to look through these albums of the uniforms that we've worn over the year. We'll check back. And the kids probably love it.
I'm sure they do.
Oh, man, that thing you wore in 98.
Yeah.
And that road game at Oregon State, those were beautiful.
I mean, they've had some that
I like it.
I feel like they should probably lean in on and recycle more than they do. But, I mean, their thing forever was we're never wearing the same uniform combination twice. It's like, well, you guys are going to run out of some options at some point, right?
I would think. I mean, God bless the idea people there. And look, that's their thing, and kids love that. So I don't begrudge them. I just it's for the youth.
Yeah, it is. We'll see if they can handle James Madison coming up tomorrow.
I think they can handle. I think they could start their second string and handle. And I think we'll probably see that second string in the second half.
That very well might happen. 615-737.
There's an underrated thing of these playoffs. Think, for Oregon and for Ole Miss, you would think in a playoff run, your second stringers aren't getting a lot of time. But for these teams, their second stringers are always going to be able to say, in our playoff run, man, I played.
Yeah, maybe even scored
a third stringers.
Yeah.
Hey, I played too.
It's a truly team effort for Ole Miss and Oregon heading into the playoff. Is it crazy to think that the Tennessee Titans might have a good shot of taking down Kansas City this weekend? We'll get into that coming up next. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. If you're looking for a great spot to pregame on Sunday before the Titans game, stop by John Bon Jovi's pregame with 102.5 The Game. JBJ's has the best food on Broadway, cold beer, cocktails, and stunning skyline views, including 2 epic rooftops. Pregame show brought to you by Tennessee Brew Works and Old National Bank. Titans taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. And Paul, the Chiefs in unfamiliar territory. Number one, they've been eliminated from the playoffs. And number two, their quarterback's out with a torn ACL. So it's going to be the Gardner Minshew show coming up on Sunday here in Nashville for the Chiefs. I've said it this week. I'm really interested to see the level of give a darn that the Chiefs have in this game. And if it's as low as I suspect it may be, is it crazy to think that the Tennessee Titans have a pretty good shot of winning this game at home? I think the spread is 3 points, and we're going to get into our picks for that a little bit later in the show. But I am very fascinated to see what version of the Kansas City Chiefs we get now that Mahomes is out. They're eliminated from the playoffs and seemingly nothing to play for.
Well, the Chiefs aren't great to start with. They weren't great
There's
with
also
Mahomes. They're not a super talented team. Kelsey's on the downswing here, probably going into his last 3 games. They're not nearly as dynamic. And the air is out of the sail. So, it's hard to predict something like how their want to is going to measure up. But I think, if you're doing the compare contrast and giving the green check marks, I think in the want to column, I would check mark Tennessee. Played better lately, particularly offensively. Gardner Minshew is 4-2 against the Titans. His teams are. He's thrown 8 touchdowns against 2 interceptions in those games. And the problem is the Titans secondary. You don't know what's going on at safety here. Kendall Brooks probably starting next to Amani Hooker. That's a problem. So if Gardner Minshew and his receivers are able, and Andy Reid is able to scheme against that could be a big, big problem. If the Titans and Denard Walker can come up with a way to cover for that, and the corners obviously aren't very good, and the Titans can score, and they've been scoring. They've scored 55 points in the last 2 weeks, the most in consecutive games in a season. They did this in December last year. They scored 70-something in back-to-back games. I think they could be right there. And you and I were saying off the air when we got in that we both kind of have a feeling. How much would this piss off some Titans fans who are the draftniks if the Titans beat the Chiefs in what everybody will call a quote-unquote meaningless game? Because any game that's played without playoff implications has zero meaning, according to draftniks. I think the Titans have a chance this weekend. Listen, I know saying have a chance doesn't sound like much. With this team, saying it has a chance is something. I also think they have a chance next weekend. I know New Orleans has been playing better, but that's not a great team by any means. Titans are heading into 2 games where they have, I think, a legitimate chance to win before getting to Jacksonville, which is probably going to need that game for, if not the division, for playoff positioning.
Yeah, like I think the only thing on the give a darn meter for Kansas City that I wonder about in terms of maybe we're going to see some of that is, like, if deep down, if you're on that team and either because he's told you, which I don't think he has, or you got a pretty good idea that Travis Kelce's reaching the end here. Like, don't you kind of want to finish strong for him? I know they're not going to the playoffs, and he was on his podcast this week talking about that. And it's the NFL. It's a privilege to play in the NFL. You got to finish strong, saying all the right things, all those things. But if you're on that team and you got a pretty good idea that he's retiring at the end of this, does that kind of keep you in the fight? That could be really the only thing I can think of.
I think it keeps you in the fight for the finale. You want to send him off for a big game at the end for his capper. But I don't know if between being eliminated from the playoffs and losing your quarterback and the final game of the season, you're saying, hey, let's rally for Travis here. So it's going to be interesting. The other thing that's funny, it's just the way things, and it's the unpredictability of the league, right? Titans didn't have a great home schedule this season by any means. And the one game they put a feather in when they're looking to, do this dynamic pricing. They only had one game they felt was worthy of putting a star on and putting heavier prices on. Now, it doesn't matter for a season ticket holder because it all comes out, in one big price.
Right.
But for individual games, this game is the expensive game. And it's not worth anything more than the Saints next week right now. So I wonder if that has any kind of bearing or if it just means people are taking a bath in the secondary market. But there's nothing special to see here unless you're a fan of finding the Andy Reid lookalike in the crowd.
True.
If he shows up or seeing Kelsey or any Taylor Swift watch. I don't think that she's going to be here to see Trav, but I guess there's some intrigue connected to that.
I mean, the good news is if you're going to the game, I mean, it's mid-December. It's going to be like 55 degrees on Sunday. You can't ask for a whole lot better than that.
Next week is there's no chance of a white Christmas.
No, it's going to be 70 degrees on Christmas. That's what they say. 70 degrees.
Go out and shoot some hoop.
I'm all for it. Anytime we get in the 70s in December, sign me up for it.
So you're not you have no anticipation for a white Christmas?
No.
Not for your daughter?
Nope. She'd be fine. She'd rather be outside on the swing set anyway. It's all good.
She can swing in the snow.
She can. She can.
You would even clean off the seat for her, unlike the Bengals.
I think this is the saddest I've seen PK in a while when it comes to no chance for Christmas. Are you a big white Christmas guy? You waiting on it?
No, and I'm not a fan of the cold at all. But if I would pick one day in the year for it to be cold enough for it to snow, it would be Christmas.
You're not getting it this year, my friend. 72.
I'm not sad about that. To be honest, I'm sad that I'm soon to be covering a coaching search. I think that's where my sadness is. And
I've got a lot of time prepared for this coaching search.
I've got classes start. Belmont finishes early and starts early, so classes start right as the coaching search starts. So there's 100% that like right as my 3 hours of classes start on a Tuesday afternoon, the coach will be hired. Just no doubt. And then like 2 days later, he'll be introduced during my class.
I remember when Callahan got hired, there was a Predators game going on. And I looked down the row. I was like, oh, cool. Gentry's here. And I think Joe was there that night and all these other people here. I was like, there's a packed house for the Predators game tonight. And then like 6:40, they hired Brian Callahan and everybody just left. I was like, well, I'm the only one. We're back.
Exclusive news from Robert Stan.
Everybody just walks out. Got to go to Brian Callahan. So, yeah.
They didn't introduce him that.
No,
night,
they just hired
people
him.
just went and
they just had to go right.
Wrote, yeah.
So, I mean, you may be onto something there.
Well, now Monday, the Predators have all the attention when their new owner talks.
They do.
Their new owner. We'll talk about that more, I hope.
We will. Well, we'll see if Tony Pollard can keep it up for the third consecutive game and if the Titans can run the ball against Kansas City. I mean, it's been pretty crazy to watch how different it looks with him specifically running the ball the last couple of weeks compared to the rest of the season. I know, in the Cleveland game, he got it 25 times, and he's not really approached that all year. But if they do it for the third game in a row, I will be very impressed by the Titans' sudden turnaround in the running game.
I had like 5 good minutes with Peter Skoronsky in my podcast yesterday talking about this. And I don't think people have really picked up on it as much as I have. And it's kind of self-evident. But, I asked him after the Jaguars game, which was miserable, right? They lost 22-3?
25-3, yeah.
25-3. They looked as if they did not care. And I asked him in the locker room after that game, show me evidence that you guys give a bleep. And he gave a good answer, but that's where the video that I posted got a lot of flack because Arden Key was cackling in the background.
Yeah.
And so everybody was like, as he gives you a good answer of this, the noise in the background suggests that people are not taking it seriously.
Yep.
But the week after that, in the locker room, after they won in Cleveland, he was answering questions. It wasn't my question, but he said, I think this shows a lot of give a bleep. And he kind of looked at me.
Yeah.
Gave me a side eye, like,
have some of that.
We responded to that. And I get along well with Peter. And he went on to say, and then Latham and Moore both kind of confirmed that was a turning point for them, the Jaguars game. They were so disgusted with their performance there. And that week they really talked about being determined, obviously, to stop Myles Garrett, but as a way to stop Myles Garrett to run the football and to be determined. Now, why they didn't flip that switch somewhere else earlier in the season and all of that remains in question.
Yeah.
But if they can carry this forward for another 3 weeks and end with a 5-week identity of being a line that can push people, can run the ball, can protect the quarterback, it's the identity we wanted for them. It's the identity we expected for them. It's late arriving, but it carries into the offseason. It gives the new coach something. It suggests that maybe there's, I don't know. We're expecting at least 2 changes on that offensive line. Maybe it means you're more likely to stick with Cushenberry because things have come around. And then you only have to, I don't think you'd stick with Zeitler even so, but you'd want that line continuity, right? And those guys could go into the offseason and say, hey, finally at the end, we figured it out and we are something.
Yeah.
And again, I know there's a lot of turnover and stuff, but 4 of those 5 guys could be back and they'd have something to carry into. Now you got to start it again. You got to do it again. You're going to have a new coach, coordinator, offensive line, but those guys would be inheriting something that has some kind of identity and success instead of what they had coming out of the Jaguars game.
Let's quickly head to the phone line. Welcome in Trey to the program. Trey, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
Good morning.
Hello.
Hey, I just wanted to say, I've been hearing reports that Cam Ward want to be in on the coaching search. And through the, y'all program and then other programs I've been reading a little bit, I believe that he could do that, but will it really transform his play on the field? He's had 2 coaches. Is that really going to be, the optimal thing that's going to change how he performs on the field? I don't think so. I'm more worried about him performing on the field and getting more than 2 wins. And I hope that we win all of these games. I'm not on the lose every game trip like everybody else. I don't think that another coach is going to be able to come in here and teach Cam basic fundamentals on how to do what he need to do on the field.
So you think the new coach has no bearing on the quarterback?
I think that if you don't have basic skills, they running the same plays. Each coach is running the same plays every Sunday. Each coach on both sides. So if you can't run the plays, is it really the coach's fault?
A new coach is going to have a plan for Cam Ward, run him through an offseason of very specific things that help him get better at those things. And if Cam Ward doesn't show improvement under that new coach, his coordinator and his quarterback coach, the new coach will be a failure. Now, I'm not expecting that he's going to make Cam Ward first team All-Pro, but if he can't make Cam Ward better to a significant degree, it'll be a huge indictment of Cam Ward.
Yep. Let's quickly bring in Chad.
Coaches make players better. That's what they do. They coach them up. Go check on Drake May and what he did last year and what he did this year. Go check on Caleb Williams and what he did last year and what he did this year. What do you think happened in those two situations? Those guys just like woke up better?
Coaching has a lot to do with it. Chad, we got about 30 seconds. Go ahead.
Yeah, continuing some of the conversation we had earlier this week, I've been going through a little bit of history with you, Paul, and it just seems like you've kind of been fighting with every regime, whether it's Vrabel, of course, your exchanges with Callahan, and then all the different players, looking at all the stuff you had with Lawan, and then digging into a couple of my connections, sports agents, trying to figure out kind of inside the scenes, what is these regimes, Vrabel and their camp and the Titans players on respective years.
Chad, we got about 2 seconds. Do you have a question?
It just seems like your reputation is to create drama within the organization. And I'm wondering, is that your business tactic?
My reputation is that I hold people's feet to the fire and have them answer for what they do. And particularly the last 2 years, what they've done is lose consistently and not show any kind of plan for success. Lawan and I got along fine. Vrabel and I got along fine. When Vrabel was being curmudgeonly and a jerk, I called him on it.
There it is. 615-737-1025, our phone number. The Rob Rant coming up next. You're listening to 1025, The Game.
Don't make me angry.
Sometimes you have to tell someone to pound sand.
You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
This is the Rob Rant. Now on Robby and Rexrode.
Come in here and kick Rabel's ass real quick.
You guys, just all of you, are so damn soft.
Olaf, and what's the sister name?
Elsa.
Elsa, what's the other one name? Anna. If I ever could choke some cartoon characters.
A pineapple? I have no idea what that means.
Catch one stray pee-pee and...
I don't care, Paul. I'm going to yell and you're going to listen to it.
Did I talk to Michael?
Micah.
It kind of freaks me out.
Why are people still saying stupid crap like this?
Christoph, all of them. I'd kill them if I could.
Please don't kill Elsa.
It is time for the Rob Rant here on the program.
I take all this Edith Bunker talk this week as a real tribute to Rob Ryan.
Yes.
From Joe Rexrode. Tribute to Meathead.
Yeah, exactly.
Rest in peace.
Absolutely. He mentioned that earlier this week. I feel like he's been a little bit light on the Edith Bunker stuff this week. I think we need to lean a little bit more into it.
I saw some Meathead. I mean, I'm pretty familiar with All in the Family. And
especially my husband, Archie Bunker.
But I've seen some Meathead highlights this week that were just beyond stuff I remember, that were so good. He was unbelievable in that show. The dynamic between him and Archie, something to behold, and so far ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Crazy if you think that was on network TV in the 70s.
All right, I'm going to go really quick here because we got to get to TD coming up. The Seattle Kraken on Tuesday lost to Colorado at home 5-3. You know, everybody loses to Colorado, so there's really nothing to be ashamed of there. It was a good battle. They lost 5-3. And after the game, their coach, Lane Lambert, who used to be an assistant here under Barry Trotz, spent about a minute on the stage in the postgame, which the Seattle Kraken PR department permitted only the team employee to be able to ask a question after the game. So no independent media, only the team employee were able to ask questions, and they told the team employee to gather questions from other media if necessary, and he would be the one to ask them. So that happened on Tuesday. The press conference lasted about a minute, and then it was all done, at which Bob Condor, their editor-in-chief of the Kraken's official website, was the only one asking questions. The Kraken came out on Wednesday after receiving tremendous blowback on this and apologized for it, said, quote, the bottom line is it wasn't the right call at all. It was a mistake. It would never happen again, and it won't ever happen again. My question is, how did this happen to begin with? How do you possibly think that that's a good idea?
What were they so upset by?
Well, I don't know. Like, they're struggling. You know, they've hired – this is his first year as Kraken head coach. They're not very good. They're struggling. They lost again to a very good team, by the way, the best team in the NHL. So why that game in particular was the time where you decided to try something like this is beyond me. But just quickly, I've got two things. Like, if you're in PR and you ever thought that this was a good idea, I really question your thought process there. If what I suspect may be part of this, and that is it was the coach's idea and you're covering up for him, you have to be able to look your coach in the face and say, yeah, man, we cannot do that. Like, this cannot happen. And also, the independent media there, I understand that this probably took you by surprise. Don't stand for that in the moment. Don't sit there. Start asking questions anyway. You don't need to stand there and deal with that when the team says, oh, we're only taking team employee questions. Screw you. I'd start asking questions over the top of the team employee just out of spite at that point. So the whole thing totally screwed up. I know that they've come out with an apology since then, but it's kind of amazing in 2025 with as much investment level and as much media training and all these things that goes on, that something like this could actually happen in one of the four major sports in our country.
Just goes to prove what I say all the time. People are incredibly soft.
Yeah.
So soft.
I couldn't believe that this took place in the National freaking Hockey League.
You guys, just all of you are so damn soft.
Yeah.
Well, just keep that handy.
Keep it handy.
Very good.
Never know when you might need to use it. Teron Davenport will be with us coming up next. We'll get into all things Titans with him. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Final hour, Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. Robbie Stanley, Paul Kuharski, Ian Safar here with you on this Friday morning. Titans taking on the Kansas City Chiefs this weekend at Nissan Stadium. You got the Chiefs this weekend, the Saints at home next weekend, and those are the final two home games of the year. So we'll see if the Titans can make things interesting here and come up with a win. Hope to be joined by TD here in just a second. Got the Titans and the Chiefs. We'll get into the Cam Ward comments from earlier this week with TD as well. So a lot of things to get into.
So let's start with Arden Key, who was outspoken with us about the defense not adjusting, and then got blowback from both Mike McCoy and Denard Wilson.
Yep.
I had an awkward minute with him where he didn't look up at me. You had a more formal.
Well, let's bring TD on the program now. We finally got TD on the line. So
I was
TD,
presuming he was there.
No, sorry about that.
You hear that premise, TD?
Yeah, I did.
So you had a more formal short sit down with him out on the patio where he was looking at the camera, and kind of, unlike with me, and more formally tried to address it, though he didn't really address it. You got a nice setup there. How did it go between you and him, and what'd you think of what he had to say?
Yeah, no, I think really his message, what he was trying to get across that he didn't exactly do well, was that he wasn't necessarily blaming just the coaches. He felt it was a group failure or a group shortcoming. But, you know, I would say it went well because, I mean, he looked in the camera and he spoke. So I guess from that perspective, it was good.
Yeah, you went up to me on the looking in the camera for sure. I mean, it's an awkward thing for Key. I said earlier in the week, I mean, I like a guy that speaks out, and I think teams need a guy that speaks out. But I also think you have to buy the privilege to speak out with production, and he's not been productive. And so I think he surrenders the right to speak like he spoke, no matter what he believes. You got to back it up by doing your job, and he's not been getting to the quarterback. And so I think you got to temper what you say when you're not producing.
Yeah, no, the message is definitely more effective, you know, when it comes from a guy that's producing. I think, you know, it also is effective when it comes from a guy if he's busting his behind in practice, and the results may not come, but at least, you know, the work is going in. I see Arden Key working in practice, but I mean, like, we don't see the whole practice, so we don't know. It's just one of those things where, like, that guy, he's just naturally outspoken, and he's always going to speak his mind. And so it's just like, regardless of whether he's producing, he's going to talk. And that's something I feel like the locker room, the organization, like everybody, they just know that, right? They know Arden is going to be loud. He's going to be brash, and that's just what it is.
Teron Davenport with us, presented by Bart Durham Injury Law and fueled by Parman Energy. TD, why do you think the Titans have been able, basically in the last couple of weeks, to go from not being able to run the ball at all to running the ball pretty effectively with Tony Pollard? And if it happens this way the rest of the year, what does that kind of tell you about maybe something they've unlocked here in the running game?
Well, I mean, I think it's simple. And this is something that I said after the Jaguars game. They went away from it despite running really well on that first drive, right? Pollard had 36 yards. I think they had 70 yards rushing on that first drive. And it's like, keep doing that. You know, and they got away from it. But you saw in Cleveland, you saw against the 49ers, they stuck to it. And it's just a thing where, you know, if all else fails, run the football. And they decided to, and Bo Hardigree, he talked about it yesterday, just, you know, sticking to it despite, you know, the first 3 or 4 runs or whatever he said he called, they were, you know, short gains. But you stick to it, and those things start to sync up, and then, you know, a seam opens and Pollard goes and you get the downfield blocking, and now you got something going. And I think that's really what they need to do. And that's why I asked Skoronski, I asked Gunnar Helm, even Cam Ward, you know, about this becoming their identity. And that's where they're shifting to. And I mean, again, when all else fails, you run the football. That's what they finally adopted.
We've seen Todd Downing, after not doing much with the job. We've seen Tim Kelly, who was in more difficult circumstances, but they landed on their feet after things here. What do we think collectively about Bo Hardigree now and where he heads from here? He had a pretty quick interview with Ben Johnson in Chicago, which boded well for him, showed good degree of respect for him from an up-and-coming coach. He's the guy that Brian Callahan turned to here, even though he wasn't the offensive coordinator. It's not been pretty, but it's been an awkward situation for sure. Thought he did a decent job explaining some things yesterday in a way that he maybe hadn't before. What's his track now, you think?
I think he'll probably resurface somewhere as a quarterback coach. I mean, the good thing for him is he has a lot of crossover with coaching staffs. The whole reason he got the Ben Johnson interview, because they worked together before. So that's the good part of it. And you know how the league is, man. There's 6 degrees of separation. You're going to have the connection, and you just got to take advantage of it. But I can't see more than a quarterback coach initially, but maybe he goes somewhere, he works with a young quarterback, they do well, and he eventually elevates, when an OC goes from OC to head coach somewhere.
Yeah, and in 2 years, maybe he's calling plays again somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
TD, what have you made of the discourse and the aftermath of the Cam Ward comments from the other day? I know your comment section on both social media and the post on ESPN.com, a lot of people have strong opinions on this.
Yeah, it's interesting. And the funny thing is, a lot of these are people who, if he said, well, I just let the GM handle that, would say, oh, you got to be more invested in the team. So it's, it's a catch-22 for that young man. And I think, what we have here is a problem with people not being able to read and understand context, right? Because, the man never said that he wanted to make the decision. He said he wanted to meet with the candidates and wanted to share his opinion, input. And I think that's something that pretty much any organization that has who they believe to be their franchise quarterback, that's what they do. I mean, Brian Callahan met with Will Levis before he got the job. So, why are we acting like this is some type of thing that's taboo and hasn't happened before?
Yeah, and he also said, and people completely missed, that he's confident they'll hire the right guy, offense, defense, whatever.
Exactly.
To a large degree, it's a formality that happens everywhere. These outside perimeter throws. I mean, guys are, to a degree, what they are coming out of college with the skill set. We know accuracy, with the exception of Josh Allen, doesn't get a great deal better. How much better do you think he can get at that certain kind of throw? We've seen him make it. He made one to Chigakonkwo that was a thing of beauty. But we've also seen more of them that look like the throw he made to Van Jefferson that had no chance before halftime, that would have tied at 17-17, and his guy was wide open and he couldn't find him. Those outside the number perimeter throws are not his thing. How do you envision that developing over time for him?
Yeah, I think the big thing with him is getting better at throwing with people coming towards him. And, we watch the drills that they do in practice. I think one of the ones that they need to do is like, maybe not with an actual broomstick, but with something like running towards him and having him throw over that and getting used to do that, because that's what you see in a few of the throws. Even in the one, he almost stepped on Ali Udoh's foot on the throw to Van Jefferson that was off target. And so he has to get used to it. It's strange because, that's one of the things that seemed like he was good at in college, and it felt like it was a result of him playing basketball, right? Like being used to having, as a point guard, you're driving to the cup and you got people in your space and you still kind of go up and, shoot the ball, lay it up or dunk it or whatever you do. And I think, that's something he has to kind of refine, right, to be able to throw the ball down the field in space. And just the timing, the shot clock that he has. I'm sure that's been distorted, with all the pressure that he's been under. So they got to figure out a way to balance all those things.
TD, do you have any sort of read about what we're going to see in this game on Sunday? I mean, the offense for the Titans has gotten better over the last couple of weeks. Kansas City's out of the playoffs, which is totally foreign to them. And, of course, Mahomes is hurt. It's a pretty gigantic deal for that team. So do you have any sort of read as to what we might see on Sunday against the Chiefs?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to see the Titans run the football, that's for sure. But the thing that I'm really curious about is Travis Kelce. He's an emotional guy. You remember David Long mocking him when he was, and then he got mad and threw his helmet and those types of things. So I wonder how he's going to be. He doesn't have his quarterback there. His career is winding down. They're not in the playoffs. I wonder how he's going to be. And if I was one of the Titans defenders, I would do everything I can to get under, like the Taylor Swift convo and all that stuff. We're going to have all that because I'm going to look at a way to get him upset. And that he is someone that you can tap into that way. And it's just, okay, once he gets upset, how is he going to respond?
Do you think, I mean, it's a veteran team, obviously. I think it goes one of two ways. Like either everybody's on to something and they let down, not because they're like mentally weak or anything. They're certainly not mentally weak, just because they're tired. They played all of these games and finally they've reached kind of the end. So they're tired and they come out and they don't have much because they're tired, or they respond to this idea that, hey, they're finally out of it and everything, and they're not going to show much and come out and say, screw that. Gardner Minshew or not, we're still the Chiefs and we put forth a respectable effort. You think which way do you think it leans?
Yeah, I think they're going to put forth a respectable effort. But, I mean, the truth is the truth, right? And this is a team that's played an extra month of football, for the last 5 or 6 years, right? So I think that's going to eventually wear down on you. And it just comes down to how disciplined are these guys going to be, right? To go out there and still play. Andy Reid is not like some type of master motivator or anything like that, but I mean, I would imagine he's going to have those guys ready. He's one of the best coaches in the league, so I'll be surprised if there's some type of crazy letdown and a terrible effort. But the fact of the matter is they don't have their Superman, and if he's not out there, we're finally going to see what this team is without him. And I don't think that they're too good without Mahomes.
Nope, I don't think so either. It's going to be interesting to see what that looks like. TD, Merry Christmas to you and your family. We won't talk to you before then, so I hope you have a great holiday. Enjoy the weekend, and we will talk to you soon, my friend.
All right, for sure, man. Happy holidays. PK, I'll see you in a couple hours.
Yep.
There we go. Teron Davenport, our guest here on Robby and Rexrode, presented by Bart Durham Injury Law and fueled by Parman Energy. We'll react to what TD had to say, continue to get into all things Tennessee Titans. We got Pigskin Pick'em coming up at 8:30 on the program today. All that ahead. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. DVD with Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan will be broadcasting live at the all-new Circus Sportsbook Kentucky in the Mint Gaming Hall this Monday prior to the Monday Night Football game. It's the 49ers and the Colts, the matchup this week. Our NFL game of the week on Sunday, the Steelers and the Lions at 3:25 on 94.9 The Fan. NFL game of the week presented by Circus Sportsbook Kentucky and Macero in 12 South. Appreciate TD for being with us in the last segment. Titans and Chiefs coming up this weekend, taking your thoughts at 615-737-1025 on our phone and text lines, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Interesting thing you brought up there on the outside the number perimeter throws from Cam Ward. What are you seeing there? And as the Titans go about the new coaching search and bring in the hire, and we've talked about the offseason ahead of Cam Ward in terms of footwork and everything that's got to get better there. What's your outlook for Ward on maybe more consistently being able to hit some of those throws outside the numbers that we've seen him miss on pretty consistently this year?
Well, he's got to get better. Part of it's anticipation. Part of it, like Teron said, is throwing with people in his face. Part of it, and look, the one to Van Jefferson had nothing to do with Van Jefferson. But in some instances, it's got to do with the quality of the weapon out there. Some of it comes from practice on those throws, and it's got to do with the trajectory of those throws. And part of it's that it's just not going to be his best thing. And so you want to have some of those, but he throws better in the middle of the field. We can look back to training camp. And I think the early part of training camp, I remember coming in here and saying, and certainly during OTAs, coming in and saying they don't throw to the perimeter. They work all the middle of the field. So he came in as a guy who was better at that. So you need to extend his game, certainly, and you need to force people to cover you in a certain way, in a full field way. But also you got to tailor the game plan as best you can to his strengths, right? So you don't want to force him to throw outside if his percentage outside is crap and his percentage deep inside is better, So this receiver you draft, if he's better at posts than corners, that's not a bad thing. Yeah, he should be good at everything, right? And you should work on everything. But if you're throwing more posts than corners, that's fine.
On the accuracy front, and you could take this any way you want to take it, to the outside the numbers throws. I know completion percentage sometimes is a flawed stat to look at, because how deep are you throwing the ball down the field? Are you throwing a bunch of bubble screens off? Like there's a lot that goes into that. But it is interesting. Like I'm looking at Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams is having a really good year with Chicago. His completion percentage has actually gone down this year in year two. He was at 62.5% last year. He's at 58 so far this year. Bryce Young was 59.8 in his rookie year, which is right around where Cam Ward is. He's 59.3. And Bryce Young's second year was up to 60.9. And then Drake May has been pretty accurate the whole time. He's 66.6 his rookie year. He's at almost 71 this year. But by and large, like you see these guys come in, and we've talked about this before, you're either kind of accurate or you're not. So I wonder, have you seen, when you watch Cam Ward play, is there a worry long-term about just how accurate he's going to be with the football? And if there is, how much of a concern is that if you're a Titans fan moving forward?
Well, look, coming out, what were the concerns? Accuracy and decision-making.
Yep.
And, so how do we feel 3 games shy of his complete rookie season about his accuracy and decision-making? They are still questions. Are they less of a question than they were? Not as less as you would have liked, right? But what are the circumstances surrounding that? Some crappy receivers, a coaching change, a defense that hasn't helped them out, like last week where the opponent scored on every
pretty
possession.
Inconsistent offensive line play throughout the totality.
All of that, So you don't want to make some people hear that and they think you're making excuses for him, particularly if you haven't watched all of the game.
Right.
An outsider looking at it, and a lot of national media. There are two brands of national media, right? There's some that are just kind of looking at the box scores and all of that and saying, wow, this is bad. But the film analyst types, what are they putting out mostly? They're putting out the good stuff and saying, whoa, look at this. There's a lot of promise there.
Yep.
They're putting out the big rollout to the right sideline where it's a Mahomes level by time throw where he hits Chim DK in the chest and the ball hits the ground, and saying, this is pretty damn good quarterback play here with the end result that is a terrible receiver play. Or the week before where he hits, a 3rd and 18, hits Van Jefferson in the hands with a beautiful throw.
Yep.
That ends up on the ground. And so, look, I'm not saying his completion percentage is down because receiver drops, because we talked about this on Wednesday. Receiver drops are in every quarterback's completion percentage. The timeliness, look, I'm not watching Trevor Lawrence to see the timeliness of the drops. I think it probably evens out for everybody. But it seems like the Titans have had some really untimely drops for Cam Ward. So you're asking me, can he get better? I think he can get better. Is it, completion percentage I don't think is ever going to be his strength. The decision-making, I think, can get better.
Yeah.
So as the decision-making helps the completion percentage, how much that can boost it, I'm not sure. But I think he can make better decisions overall. I think we've seen him make better decisions as this season's moved along.
I will say, just watching him his rookie year, I think the decision-making part of it has gone better than I thought. I mean, it's not been perfect, and every now and then he'll get fooled. But, there haven't been too many throws this year where it was just like, man, what are you doing with the football there? Like, he's done a decent job of not putting the ball in harm's way all of that much, at least, especially for a rookie, maybe compared to what my expectations were for him coming into the year. So we'll see, does that get better? I mean, he's thrown 7 picks on the year. Now, I do think, the fumbling part of it, probably a concern for him moving forward, and got to find a better way to, protect the football while you're in the pocket. But on the whole, in terms of putting the ball in harm's way, I think he's probably been better there than maybe I thought heading into the year. So that's good.
Yeah, I think in terms of throwing and putting the ball in harm's way, I agree with you. I've been surprised at the fumbling.
Yes.
But the fumbling's gotten better.
Yes.
Right? And so, look, again, I've been saying this consistently. I think we were all in agreement this year was really about Cam Ward's growth curve, and Cam Ward's growth curve is pretty good right now. We just all expected there'd be 5 or 6 wins around it, and the 5 or 6 wins haven't shown up. So that's a big caveat, right?
Sure.
A big caveat. But there have been a lot of ingredients that have gone into that. And the roster really, I think we expected a lot of things to be better. And that weren't unreasonable. Cody Barton, we thought would be better. L'Jarius Sneed, when they traded for him, was an excellent player. And it was reasonable to expect after a crappy first year that he would bounce back and give them something this year. And it turned out the trade was a complete dud.
Yep.
More Rand Carthon nonsense, right? Latham, very inconsistent, seems to be settling in. Too much of this stuff has taken too long.
Yep.
That has maybe the offensive line has showed up the last 2 games and been more of what we expected. Well, that's what, weeks 13 and 14 or 14 and 15?
It's a long time.
That's a hell of a long wait for a veteran offensive line, right? Dan Moore's no kid. Kevin Zeitler is definitely no kid.
Cushenberry.
You need to get better play out of those guys sooner. What's the hell's the delay there? That's a team problem that all of this stuff took that long.
Nope. I totally agree with that. Totally agree. We'll have Pigskin Pick'em coming up next. PK with us the entire program this morning. Take more of your Titans questions for him as well. Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game.
Now, it's time for Pigskin Pick'em with Robby and Rexrode on ESPN 1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Competition heating up. Pigskin Pick'em. We are in crunch time. NFL playoffs right around the corner. College football playoff begins tonight. A standings update in the competition. I went 4-2 last week, no lock. Rexrode 3-3, no lock. Ian Safar 2-4, no lock, which brings the overall standings. Robby Stanley in first place, 50-46, 7-9 on locks, 57 points. Ian Safar back into second place, 46-50 overall, 6-10 on locks, 52 points. Rexrode 42-54, 9-7 on locks, 51 points.
Pathetic.
His overall record's not very good.
No.
The locks have saved Rexrode this year, but a tight competition.
And as we get into this, ESPN on Get Up has a headline: is Kalen DeBoer coaching for his job?
There we go. We're going to find out. Big game tonight for Kalen DeBoer.
Those Penn
apparently.
State rumors just do not die.
Pitt State,
even though they've hired,
Michigan.
they're going to fire.
Yeah, Michigan.
They're going to fire
all the
the
Big Ten. Yeah.
So yeah,
Michigan is not an attractive job right now.
Not right now. It's not.
I mean, that place is just scandal riddled.
Not right now. It's not. Oklahoma and Alabama coming up tonight in the college football playoff. Rexrode has offered his selection. Oklahoma, by the way, a 1.5-point favorite at home against the Crimson Tide. Joe is rolling with the Tide. He is going with Alabama in this matchup. I will go with Oklahoma. I'll take Oklahoma in a close one. I'll go Oklahoma to cover the 1.5-point spread. That matchup just has not gone well for Kalen DeBoer. Oklahoma's gotten them twice in a row dating back to last year. I think they make it 3 tonight. Ian Safar, who we got?
Yeah, I don't know. Bama just has not been playing well.
They have not.
Joe kind of, I don't know if it was breaking news yesterday, brought up on the show
I
that
think it was.
Ty Simpson has been dealing with some back stuff, getting epidurals during this stretch. He gets the extra week. I don't know. Just the recent play, the extra week might help, but I also am going to take Oklahoma minus the 1.5.
With
I
Oklahoma.
prayerfully take Oklahoma.
PK, very much rooting for Alabama's demise.
I just hate
Hater of all
everything
things
about it.
Alabama. Hater of Nick Saban.
Oh, my God. I hate Nick Saban. I can't wait to talk Nick Saban and Preds coming up.
We will do that. We will do that. Miami and Texas A&M. A&M favored by 3.5 at home in this one. Ian Safar, who we got?
Yeah, we were talking about this a little bit before the show, Robby. I do not have a great feel for either of these teams.
Yep.
Have not watched A&M much. Have not watched Miami much after the early game versus Notre Dame, after they kind of dropped off there. It's at A&M. It's a tough place to play. I don't know, the extra 0.5 point. I think I'm going to take Miami.
Going with Miami in the
field goal.
matchup. Rexrode also taking the Hurricanes. Look, I have gone back and forth on this one, I think 5 times during the show as to which way I was going to go. I think I'm settling on Miami. It feels like this is not just my disrespect and total disregard of the Yale team down there at Texas A&M. It feels like A&M may not be as good as maybe we thought earlier in the year. The schedule just kind of shook out that way. Miami's playing a lot better over the last few weeks, so I will go Miami to cover. I'll go Miami to win outright in this game.
You are all incorrect. A&M will win it by double digits.
Woo!
Wow.
Double digits. I like it. They are at home. A lot of people in that stadium. A lot of interesting things going on in that stadium, too. The Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Tennessee Titans. Chiefs a 3-point favorite in this matchup. Rexrode has gone on the Titans. PK, where are you going with the Chiefs and the Titans on Sunday?
Yeah, I don't like to pick games, but picking the Titans to win is stupid in 2025. So while I have a feeling the Titans might win this game, I can't in good conscience pick the Titans to win ever.
I won't. I'm going with the Chiefs minus 3. I do think the Titans have a chance in this game, which, as PK said earlier, is saying something because there have been plenty of games this year where they should not have had a chance going into the game. But I will take Kansas City to win by 4 in this matchup. It's far who we got.
Yeah, Minshew's not a complete scrub.
No.
He can put up some numbers. I do worry about Kansas City's offensive weapons this week. Tyquan Thornton has not practiced this week for a concussion. Rashee Rice has not practiced this week for a concussion.
Yep.
They still got some O-line injuries. You know, their run game is not very good. All the stuff, brings me back to the Titans to have a chance to cover. But as Paul mentioned, it's hard to pick them. So I am going to take the Chiefs to -3.
Logic
Look,
says
you
the
can't
Titans
go
should probably hang
wrong.
around.
Generally, if you pick the Titans to lose, what's your record this year?
Pretty good.
It's the opposite of the Titans record, which puts you at the top of the league.
It's pretty good.
I mean, it's a simple formula.
Oh, man. The individual portion of the program, I'll start first on this one. Give me the Green Bay Packers plus 1.5 against the Bears and make it my lock, Ian Safar. No,
Yeah,
Micah?
we are.
No problem. I will say, I do think legitimately this is going to be a big challenge for them without Parsons, and trying to keep Caleb Williams contained is difficult to do with Parsons.
Do we know what the weather looks like there?
It's going to be in like the high 20s, low 30s. Be fine. Yeah, should be good. I mean, comparatively speaking, I think it was like 4 degrees there last week. So should be fine. It is just setting up for, on my end, a little bit of hilarity for them to walk in there and win this game and sweep the Bears this year. So I'm picking it. I'll go Packers plus the 1.5. You got any read on that game, PK? Or my Packers totally screwed without Parsons?
I don't know that they're not winning the Super Bowl, but I don't know that they're screwed in that game. I don't have a strong feeling on that one.
Ian Safar, your first individual selection.
Okay, I will put my lock down actually right now too. Patriots. 2.5 plus 2.5 versus the Ravens. This is the end of the road for Baltimore this season. Give me the Patriots.
That line kind of surprises me a little
2.5. Yeah. In which way?
I understand that Baltimore's really talented and they're at home in that game, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
But I mean, Patriots pretty good, man.
I don't see the Patriots losing 2 in a row either.
Yeah.
Like last week was a big disappointment. I think they rallied back. I'm with you on that one.
Joe going with the Saints minus the 4.5. Now, it was 4.5 when he made the pick. It's 5.5 now. We'll monitor that. This is why he shouldn't send his picks in a day early. Saints minus 4.5 against the Jets. He's locking down on that one.
I like 49ers minus 6 at the Colts. I know the Colts play good defense. I've got recency bias, but I'm loving Brock Purdy right now, and Phillip Rivers isn't going to do anything.
No respect for Phillip Rivers from PK. None.
You know Jeff Pearlman, the author? He really did, and I like Jason McCourty a lot. But Jeff Pearlman did a video like during the game. Jason McCourty and his partner, apparently in broadcasting that game, rather than saying like giving honest assessment of Phillip Rivers, they took the tack like, this is amazing that this guy's come back and is doing this, and like saluted him the whole game. And this really turned off Pearlman. He found it like not insincere. It wasn't a true broadcast, and he didn't understand why just because the guy came back made it worthy of like
the whole game
praise the whole game. Like, look at the 44-year-old when he was throwing helium balloons the whole game, which I thought was excellent analysis by Pearlman.
Joe going the other way. He'll take the Colts plus the 6 against San Francisco.
Yeah, that's a loss. I need to make a side bet with him.
Have some of that. Ian, your second individual selection.
They disappointed me last week. I'm going to go back to them. Cowboys minus 2.5. Why are they favored versus the Chargers?
See, sometimes when that spread is off that way, it means you go with the spread being off.
Exactly. So I'm going Cowboys minus 2.5 versus the Chargers.
Going Cowboys minus the 2.5 against the Chargers.
I think that might be a good call.
Yeah, I think so too. Chargers, I mean, the Chargers have been piecing it together. Good for them. But, like, they're still pretty darn banged up out there. I know Hampton's back now, so good for them. But we'll see what they look like. I still – Harbaugh's done a good job, but playoffs are going to come around. I think they may get smoked when they whoever they play first round. I mean, I'm going to do it. I've been talking about it for the last 2 weeks. Yeah, give me Oregon minus 20.5 against JMU. I'm going to do it.
Good for you.
I mean, I think they're going to win by like 38.
20.5. I mean, 3 touchdowns. That seems doable.
Yeah, I think so. I'll kick us off with the last round. I'll also take Ole Miss minus 17.5 against Tulane. Let me just go ahead and double down on the 2 garbage games.
That.
I should. I think I probably will.
The Bucks, after Todd Bowles' monotone tongue lashing, minus 3 at Carolina. I don't think Carolina's legitimate at all. I think the Bucks are talented and underachieving. I picked them to go to the Super Bowl. That's not happening.
Still alive.
But they're going to bounce back in one of Todd Bowles' final games. And by the way, Tampa Bay is going to be one of the best openings in the league.
Yeah. That's pretty – I mean, Mayfield playing well. They got some good talent down
and
there.
they consistently have good talent.
They do.
Todd Light's a good GM, but Todd Bowles has been holding that team back.
Joe taking the Broncos -3 and a big one in the AFC against Jacksonville.
Oh, that's moved to 3.5.
Is it 3.5?
He just gets those picks in.
We're putting it at 3.5.
I looked
have
at
some
it
of
just
that,
a little
Joe.
bit ago. So
have some of that. Ian Safari, your final selection.
This is a big number, but they have been playing well and doing well for me in the picks over the past week. And this team is complete cheeks who they are playing. Houston -14.5 hosting the Raiders.
Woo, totally conceivable.
34-10.
I mean, that is totally
the Raiders
conceivable.
may not score.
The Raiders don't score. Houston plays incredible defense. And they'll I mean, it could be 14-0. 17-3.
Well, the over-under is very low.
I'm sure it is. Yeah.
I think that's
Raiders are bad, man.
I give you a good confidence index on that.
Raiders are bad. We'll have one more segment with PK coming up next. We will get into the Nick Saban partial ownership of the Nashville Predators conversation, too.
Hint, I hate it.
Robby and Rexrode, 102.5 The Game. College football game of the week is tonight. Number 9, Alabama. Number 8, Oklahoma in the first round of the college football playoff. You can catch all the action on 102.5 The Game at 7 o'clock. Coverage presented by Circus Sportsbook Kentucky. Also available on the Game Nashville app and at thegamenashville.com. PK Nick Saban, now a minority stake owner of the Nashville Predators. He will be having a press conference here on Monday along with Bill Haslam. So looking forward to that coming up. You are not a huge fan of the Nick Saban ownership of the Nashville Predators. Your thoughts on that move that was announced earlier this week?
Well, I just think it's such a publicity stunt. Not just him, all of these celebrity minority ownerships. And that's why I think, I mean, you can't force it, but how big a stake, you know? If it's $1 million, what are the Predators worth?
Probably in the neighborhood of somewhere in the B's.
Yeah.
When the next Forbes evaluation
I mean,
comes
if it's $1 million in somewhere in the $1 billion thing, it's so inconsequential. All you're doing is getting his name attached to it. And then he's such a phony and so disingenuous. He grew up in West Virginia, and he says, my whole life I've dreamed of being involved in a sports team in Nashville. That's BS. No, you haven't. You grew up in West Virginia. You gave no thought to Nashville. There were no professional sports teams in Nashville when you grew up in West Virginia. If you're going to craft something about your interest in it, at least spend enough time on it for it to make sense. But the Nashville Predators were never a thought in anybody's mind when you were growing up in West Virginia, nor the Titans. This was a little podunk town with Vanderbilt University in it and minor league ice hockey. Maybe. So it's just a lie. It's fabricated. And people out here who just love the SEC and love Nick Saban are like, isn't that great? He always dreamed of being involved in the Nashville sports team. And now he has the Mercedes dealership, and he's going to help finance the Preds as if his money means anything and makes any difference to them whatsoever. Don't buy this BS. It's just crap. And the same thing with the soccer team here. They get Derrick Henry involved. Who's the country artist that's involved? It's all
Philip Forsberg in there.
Philip Forsberg's involved. It's all BS. Those investments in NSC could be like $250,000.
Giannis,
which is pennies for these people.
Yeah.
That's why I want to know, if you really want me to think these people are invested, then show me how much they're invested. Because what they're invested in is being on your billboards and having a press conference on Monday that, quite frankly, distracts us from a hockey team that's finally playing decent, but hasn't done bleep since they went to the Stanley Cup Finals. And what you're doing is connecting yourself to a winner from a different sport.
Are you going to listen to me or are you going to listen to these guys?
I'm going to listen to those guys because I think you're a damn shill.
I'm looking forward to the press conference coming up on Monday. Going to be a lot of people there from what I hear.
Oh, yeah, everybody. Nobody's going to the Titans press conference. It's going to be me and Mike McCoy. Me, Mike McCoy, Teron Davenport, and Nick Suggs.
Now we've gotten to the bottom of why PK's upset.
He's stuck in a room with McCoy by himself.
It's funny because regularly there are, especially on Mondays and sometimes on Wednesdays, guys show up later and later. So sometimes I'm one of them, but sometimes there'll be like 3 of us in the room and we will be scared bleepless.
Like, oh God,
crap. Is it going to be 3 of us with McCoy? And then 2 guys will walk in like right at the buzzer.
Thank God.
And I'll walk in a lot of days, like Glennon will make an appearance and I'm like, you got this today, Johnny. You're carrying it. And we always make something out of it. But at the beginning, you're like, whew, this is a little scary. Hey, Mike, good to see you. We just have 2 questions for you today. Let's cut this short.
Don't have a lot.
Especially the Wednesday. You just saw him on Monday.
Nothing
has happened new. And
no one cares about the matchup this week.
Yeah, and we're not going to be quoting you in anything coming up. We just had the coordinators yesterday who are quotable. We're about to go to the locker room where there are a couple guys who are quotable.
Yeah. Look, I will say I do feel bad to a certain degree. I mean, I don't feel that bad for them. They get paid money to do it, so it's fine. But in like week 2 of training camp, when you're just every day, it's like 15 minutes with a coach, and it's like, guys, we've talked about as much training camp practice as I think we can possibly handle here. And yet we still got some more time here. Let's go do it.
I mean,
I feel kind of bad for him.
I might come out to the Saban thing to talk Titans, something he knows something about, could know something about.
Take Titans questions, Bama questions, college football playoff questions.
I agree.
Or to say, like, hey, who's the next coach you're going to show for to take the next job but continue to work for his old team and while he recruits those guys in the portal?
Robby, I expect you to ask him about his
corrupt douche
take about the minor
can I say
league, the minor leagues and JMU.
Yeah,
maybe some clarification.
Well, at that point, we'll
does
know
he
who won the game.
realize? Does he realize the Nashville Sounds are in the
AAA.
city? AAA.
Hey, do you
Or
have
is he
any
taking a
interest in
shot?
investing? Wear a Sounds jersey.
What
So
do you
have
know
any
about the
interest in
Milwaukee
investing?
Admirals?
I'm be honest with you. I did. I told my wife last night. I was like, "What are the chances? What should I wear like a bright orange Vols polo to the
Or
Nick
Auburn.
Saban press conference on Monday?"
Auburn. What team would piss him off the most? Auburn?
Probably. I don't know. He says
The
that they
Columbus
hated
Blue
Tennessee,
Jackets.
man.
The hated Columbus Blue Jackets.
Hey, here's a
Hey,
Chicago
Nick,
Blackhawks
Nick,
polo.
this
We need
team
to
is
get there.
called the
D-Mason.
Blue Jackets, and they're rivals with your team, which I'm going to remind you, the Nashville Predators.
D. Mason is Michigan State stuff in there. Get
Yeah,
some
there we
Michigan
go.
State throwbacks.
go.
I'm
Should
going to
be fun
need.
on Monday.
I'm going to really tune in on Tuesday for a summary of this thing.
That should be fun. Hey, owners are talking in this town. That doesn't happen very often. So looking forward to it coming up on Monday. PK, thank you for being
It's
with
been
me.
a pleasure. Don't block the box. Be sure to lock your locks. Have a kick-ass weekend.
Hope everybody has a great weekend. Next Man Up with Jake Lyman coming up next. You're listening to 102.5 The Game.